I would wake up and I'd run at sunrise and I'd run to the Coliseum. And the streets were empty. And the fact that the Coliseum was like my end site, it was amazing.
You were running your own gladiator.
I was.
Okay, we should have started with that. That is a cool story. Thank you so much for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Oli Marquez, and just want to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to Icon Industries, the top production studio, in my opinion, in San Diego, where the best and greatest people come to create content and get their word out there. Just want to give a huge shout out to Shane ×3 because you love yourself that much, buddy. Steven, now we named the eel after you, so there's two of you, and the rest of the crew at Icon. We appreciate you. Without further ado, Justin Loutfy, welcome back, buddy.
Thank you.
A lot has changed. A lot has changed. Author, speaker, awesome guy. You were already that. Veteran. Thanks so much for coming back, man.
Thank you. I said I was excited to come back because it's been, 3-4 months?
Yeah, it's very different, though.
So much has come down in 4 months.
Some things have changed.
Yes. Yeah.
You went in the dark.
I went to work.
You didn't go in the dark?
Went to work in the dark.
You went to work in the dark. Okay. How come you wanted to actually, let's jump into this. How come you wanted to come back on the podcast? I love it. I think you have a great story of how to change your life and change your trajectory. How come you wanted to come back?
Well, I'll tell you, a couple months ago, I reached out to a friend, James Dixon, you've had on the podcast as well. I said, hey, I don't know. I've never spoken. I've never been much of a sharer, but I feel like I've got something to say. And truthfully, when I watched our podcast, I realized that I wasn't saying those stories properly. Like I wasn't saying them in a way that would really help people. And my goal has always been to try to impact people and help them kind of get to where they wanted to do it. And so for the past 6 months, I worked with James to really hone that in, to better my communication so that I could better get those messages out. You know, from that came the book, from that came me being able to speak, being on podcasts and such. And so I wanted to come back to this because you and I have become such great friends. And I was like, you know what? We need to do this again.
1000%. What made you decide? Because I wouldn't say you're an extrovert by any means. Yeah, I wouldn't be like, you wouldn't be the guy who would pick out in a room and be like, that guy is going to talk to everyone. What made you decide, hey, I'm going to get uncomfortable. I'm going to go to, like, when you hear James Dixon speak, talk about a captivating speaker. I mean, you just feel his energy. You connect with his message. I'm going to go to that guy and I'm going to have that guy be my coach. How come you decided to get so uncomfortable? What is it about your message that you have to get out to the world?
Like I said, I knew I felt like I had something to say. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know what that even meant. But I knew that there was a message within all of the stories, within everything I've done in life, you know, whether in the military and business or even as an entrepreneur, that could help people. And me keeping that in, when I realized that me sharing that was so impactful, the idea of me keeping that in became selfish. Because then I'm really just keeping that in because I'm self-conscious. I don't like speaking. I'm afraid of what your criticism would be. But instead, you know, someone like James, when he goes out and speaks, his focus is on how can I help these people right now? How can I impact these people right in front of me? That has been my goal, whether I was in charge of a 4-man fire team or a $24 million company. Like, I wanted to make sure that I impacted the person. And the best way I know how to do that right now is to share and to speak.
Holy smoke. So basically you're saying that if you didn't start speaking and writing a book and doing these types of things, it would have been about you and not actually about making a difference in other people's lives.
Exactly. Because I had to change. I wanted to make an impact, but I wasn't willing to be open, you know, so there was a disconnect.
Yeah.
I want this to happen. I have to be willing to do all of these things to make that happen. And so I went into the dark. I went to work. I started recording things. I would put a camera in front of me and I would record videos trying to tell stories until I got it down to a point that my wife and James were like, yeah, like you're actually starting to step into the light, as I call it, where, you know, you're really letting go of all of those worries of, oh, this is going to be judged, or like this is going to hit negative criticism. Instead, I'm like, okay, how can I now impact this person in front of me? And it's just by pouring out.
Has it made you a better husband and father?
Yes, 100%.
I love it. Okay. 100%. Okay. The smile was hilarious. How come like you went into automatic? Like, what is it that's changed?
Because and we do this with everything. You know, not just as a husband and father, but just out in the world, we as people were reserved because we're worried that we're going to hit negative criticism. We're worried someone's going to say no. And it's no different at home. Like you don't want to look silly or you don't want to look stupid. When you let that stuff go, like when you let those ideas go and that worry of negative feedback go, it allows you to really connect in different ways. And so I was never a great communicator. And so something I needed to work on through this was being a better communicator, being more open and vulnerable to my wife and sharing feelings. You know, one of the best things I learned a couple months ago from a friend of mine, he said, you know, write down every single day a letter to your wife. And it's going to force you not only to pay better attention, but to also like really pour yourself out and be more vulnerable, be less guarded. And so I started doing that. And there's days I miss, sure, but you know, it allows me to have better communication because I'm vulnerable. And it's the same thing with my kids. I'm not worried about doing something stupid or looking stupid. I'll tell you like something people don't know about me. I love singing. Like my mom had a great singing voice that she gifted to both me and my sister. And I love singing with my kids, and I'll sing to my wife now. You know, and those are things that I wouldn't do before because it would make me nervous, make me self-conscious. I'm not going to sing for you, so don't ask for it. But now my girls start singing.
How dare, that is, no, Dre, this is not going to work. This is unacceptable. When you throw that down, and I'm about to sing one verse, no, you threw it down.
But that's something I get to share with them now.
Holy smokes.
But it's because I stopped worrying.
Yeah.
And I got to just be me completely.
What was it? Do you remember that point where you're like, dude, my imposter syndrome just doesn't, like, I get it. It's the funniest thing, man. Like when it comes to this, I can do this without thinking. When it comes to lending, it's like that. It's like you get it and you get into your own head and it's all in your head.
It is.
It's all in your fucking head. It's crazy to me.
That's the thing that holds everybody back. That's the thing that stops everyone from really getting to where they want to go or where they say they want to go is all those conversations in your head.
How did you go through that process for yourself? Like, you know, with that public speaking, because you had those conversations happening. How did you work through it? What were you doing?
I was writing. So I was in the middle of writing the book. Writing the book really helped me because it pulled all these stories out that I had buried. Like everyone's got a past. Everyone's went through different, you know, levels of adversity, and we tend to bury those down. And this really forced me to be open. Mm-hmm. So like, I'll tell you, there's several chapters in there that took all of me. You know, it took every ounce of me to write about when my wife and I had a miscarriage, when I had trouble, you know, coming back from a deployment, you know, to properly write how I met my wife. Like those things took every ounce of me, but doing that and pulling that out of me really allowed me to speak better because I already did it. I already wrote it down. Instead of having it buried away, I already kind of forced it out of me. And now it was just time to really practice and learn how to communicate verbally.
How have the girls reacted? Like, have they noticed a change? Do you get, like, did they talk about a difference?
I mean, it's tough. My girls are 3 and 2.
Yeah.
the biggest thing I see now is when we're watching a movie and there's a song that comes on, they'll start singing. And it makes me so happy.
I love it. Does Dre sing?
No, she doesn't.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this is a daddy and girls
daughter thing.
Because you are very proud of your dad girl.
I am.
Okay. And I've never asked you this before. What does that actually mean?
Being a girl dad?
Yeah.
Well, first, obviously, it means I have two
of course.
daughters,
Yeah.
right? But for me, it's just like, it's a different kind of love. When I tell people, it's like when you have children, it's a different kind of joy. Like you'll never feel a better joy. Being a girl dad is like being a rock star. I'm not in the stage yet where my kids don't like me, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But we'll cross that bridge when it gets here. Right now, I'll come home from this, and they'll see me. They'll yell, "Daddy!" Run to the door. It is like the best feeling in the world. It's like being a rock star, and I love it.
I love that you have that in your bio, and I've never thought about asking you. I'm like, what? And I know what you meant. It's just it's nice to have you talk about it. Let's talk about the book. So, what was the toughest part about getting started writing? What did you have to overcome before you got your flow?
Really outlining things out and kind of talking through points in my life that I've kept secret. I didn't grow up in the best household, and that's not something I shared with people growing up. One of the first stories you ever heard about me was when I got arrested and kicked out of college. Like that's something not a lot of people hear about in my life because they look at my resume and they look at, okay, he was in the Air Force, went to the Air Force Academy, got his MBA, became an executive, now he's a business owner. Like that's a logical path.
Right.
But
it's perfect.
Right. Like that is the normal progression that you learn in school that you should do. And I hit it. But if I told you that, I grew up in a bad household, I got kicked out of college, I spent 2 nights in prison, like I was a door-to-door salesman, you wouldn't think that it would end up here. And so having to really start to pull those things out to show that it doesn't matter your circumstances, like it doesn't really matter the past mistakes you made. What matters is if you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to take the rejections, like you can still make your life how you want it to be. Getting through those tough parts was hard for me. But once I really started, then I just started pouring it out.
Now that you've achieved, some of your life goals and it's ever an evolution for you, because who I know today is very different than the person that was here 6 months ago. What's all the work for? Like, what is it? What is it that you want to do? What impact do you want to make?
So I'll tell you, a couple weeks ago, I hit a point that I was having a really difficult time. I hit a point where I felt like I was failing at everything. I felt like I was failing in business because my businesses weren't performing the way I wanted them to. I felt like I was failing as a husband and a father because I was so distracted by this stuff. I wasn't really present like I should be. My younger brother moved in with me to help learn this business, and he wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I felt like I was failing as an older brother because I wasn't hitting everything I thought I should. I was falling short in my workouts, and so I felt like I was failing everywhere. And I had to really stop and silence all of that rejection in my head. And I kind of laid down on the ground. I put on headphones, listened to a song for a minute, and then I went to the whiteboard. And on the whiteboard I wrote, I said, what are you doing this all for? Like, why are you going through all of this? And for me, it was really simple. I want to know what I'm capable of. I don't know where this road is going. I'm at a point now that is beyond what I had ever imagined before. And I'm done trying to guess where it's going to go. But I want to know what I'm capable of in everything. As a husband and a father, as a business owner, as a speaker, as an athlete, like how do I push those boundaries so far? And after going through that whiteboard exercise, writing down, okay, like these are the different checkpoints that are going to show me that I'm pushing in that direction. These are all the things that I need to do. I came to the conclusion that the thing that I needed to do more of was stay consistent in my workouts for this Ironman, spend every day in the Word and journaling and reading, and continue to push myself and speak and be in these uncomfortable spaces because that's what's going to show.
You've actually worked hard to earn you work on you. That's where you're in.
Every day.
You're in that zone, man.
Yeah.
That's what you're working on. It's like, how do I become the best version of myself?
How do you find that out? Like, because I do believe that like you weren't put on here just to live and die. Like that's not our purpose. You were put on this earth to push humanity forward. And how do you find that version of you?
You know, it's interesting, and I wasn't thinking that we were going to go here, but you know, the mental for guys, like I've just been in a shitty place mindset wise, and it's funny how there's that stigma that guys don't talk about that, you know. And I have a lot of military guys that I'm buddies with, and they're like, this blew me away. He's like, as an enlisted guy, the stigma of that we have no feelings and nobody gives a shit, like we're looked down upon. I'm like, what did he just say? Is that true? Like, I mean, what's your opinion of that? That blows my mind away. That
in the military and as men, you chase this idea of being this stoic figure.
Yeah.
Right. You think of what a man is, and you can list it off like strong, like can bring the fight, brings home the bacon, doesn't talk about his emotions, like all of these things that we look to achieve as young men and kind of run towards. Later in your adult life, like you find like that's not what makes a man. You know, what makes a man is the ability to connect, the ability to help, the ability to bring people in. You can't do that without being vulnerable, which goes directly against this idea of being that stoic, manly man figure.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest struggle. It's like, am I being weak? You know, am I like, oh, hey, it's funny that you talked about 2 weeks ago and how you went through that battle within to say, hey, I'm just letting everybody down, including myself. And those conversations, I think they're a lot more rampant for guys than we care to talk about. Like, I don't talk about it that often. And it's like, this is not serving me whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you dug in. And where do you, what do you think the ultimate solution is? You run into a young man right now that's serving, or a teenager, they're trying to figure out like, hey, what is my life goal? What life advice would you give them on how to really figuring out what they want in this world?
Well, I think when people hit that barrier, right, that negative cycle, that thought process, the problem most people do is they look outward and they say, okay, well, my business isn't moving because we have a bad product. Like people aren't buying things. Real estate isn't good right now. What I found, at least, what really successful people will do is they look inward. And they say, okay, what am I doing wrong right now? And that's where I was. I knew I had everything in front of me. I've got all the pieces, but I'm doing something wrong. What am I doing wrong? And it came down to, I wasn't hitting the actions that I needed to every day. I wasn't actually pursuing the daily tasks that I needed to make the things happen that I said I wanted to go after, you know. And the only reason I got to that point, the only reason that I understood that those were the things I wanted to go after was because I was stopped trying to hit metrics that other people put in front of me. And I'm just chasing the best version of me, which we don't do. We're taught along the way, hey, these are the things you should do. These are the things you shouldn't do. These are the things you should major in. These are the things you shouldn't major in. These are good schools, bad schools, good, job opportunities, bad job opportunities. All along the way, you learn, you're programmed into what this path you should take. We never have somebody just pursue the best version of them. And that's what it took me to get to this point now, because I had already reached the checkpoints of what they should do. Now I'm at a point where I'm chasing the best version of me, and I have to look inward. The answers aren't outward.
How long, what is your game plan? I know we have to work on improving ourselves. Like, what is the journey? Are you at a point where you're like, my inner work is just getting started? Or are you at the next phase where it's now I need to get the word out there on how I can help impact people?
Both.
Okay.
Both, because I think, like you said, this is continual. Yeah. This is not something that ever ends. For me, I'm always going to be pursuing that. How do I continue to try to be that best version of me? How do I continue to figure out what I'm capable of? Well, I have to continue to push myself into uncomfortable spaces. And those spaces are going to change as I become more comfortable in the space that I'm in. But I'm also at a point now that I can help people and help them kind of get started on that. And that's what this has allowed me to do. That's what speaking has allowed me to do, which has been truly amazing.
Yeah, it's anytime I meet someone now that they say, hey, I don't know how to be my authentic self and get my voice out there, you're the example of what you can do. Just like, hey, if you give it effort, because how uncomfortable was it for you? Like when you really dig in and you look back, how uncomfortable did you have to get to this point of sitting in that chair?
Wildly uncomfortable.
Really?
I don't know the best way to describe it. Like I said, some of these chapters when I was writing them took all of me. Like, when you're just completely drained, emotionally and physically, like everything, like you feel like you have nothing left. That's how that felt for me, pulling some of the stuff out of me because I had it buried so deep. And the idea of sharing that with the world, the idea that you could go on Amazon and then just buy these stories that I wrote down that I've hidden for years, like it took all of me.
So how does it feel when you put that into actual words mentally? What did it feel like?
It's a shift. It's not about me. I was too focused on how I was feeling. I was too focused on what other people's perception of me would be. It's a shift because I'm not trying to please everybody. I'm trying to hit somebody that'll read this and be like the message I got yesterday, which somebody messaged me on Instagram and said, hey, I just finished your book. I want to tell you, like, thank you. I'm at this age. You were doing this when you were this age. It shows me I can do so much more than I ever imagined. That alone is enough justification for me doing this because I got to impact one person who decided they wanted to message me on Instagram and tell me about it.
How many messages are you getting per week? People talking about the book? Because I saw you had a ton of people that shared it. I got 2 copies of my own. What's it been like? Like, what's the reaction? What have you been surprised by with the reaction?
The thing that surprised me most is the more that I speak, the more people not only read the book, but also like listen to a video I post on YouTube or a podcast I'm on. And then they'll reach out and they'll say, hey, this really impacted me weekly. So I did a podcast a couple weeks ago where at the end I was talking about veterans and how, veterans don't know what they're capable of. And then somebody shared that story and one of their friends reached out to them and said, hey, this was exactly what I needed to hear. I'm getting ready to get out the military. I've been trying to figure out what I want to do, and it's so tough because none of this seems right. But what you posted right there really hit me, and thank you. And that was 2 people away, and then that got sent to me. And that meant the world to me because that's all I want to do. Like, that's all I want this to do, is to be able to show people what you're capable of if you're willing to put in the work.
Justin, that's crazy. I mean, and that's funny that you brought that up. It's once you got rid of it being about you, it made it so easy. It made it so much easier for you to be vulnerable.
Because what am I being vulnerable to? I'm never going to please everybody. I got my first negative book review the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice. Congrats.
Like, I was like, but it didn't hit me because I got all these other positive people. Like, it positively impacted people. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to get all the yeses. I was a door-to-door salesman. I know what 1,000 no's looks like.
Okay, you want to hear the funniest thing I heard? It's like, until you get the haters, you haven't made it. I'm like, is that what we're going for? Really? I want to accumulate haters? I'm like, all right.
I mean, in perspective,
that's a way I'm looking at it.
You think about the most successful or powerful man in our country, the president, half the country doesn't like him.
How?
Always. Not talking about our president right now.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
There's half of the population is going to disagree with whoever the president is.
True. Yeah, you can't please everybody, and it's a hard lesson that I've learned, which is when you get in the people pleasing business, the one person you're going to displease is yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
What is the number one life lesson as a parent that you want to teach the girls?
I want my girls to know hard work. And it's also my biggest fear.
What do you mean?
Because, as parents, we want to take away any adversity that we experienced as growing up, right?
Yeah.
So we always strive to create a better life than what we had. And that's every parent's goal. But at some point, you learned all these lessons in life that came from all those different hardships, that came from these different points. As a senior in high school, I worked 30 hours a week so that I could eat and drive to school. That's not a lesson I want my children to learn, but I do want them to know what that kind of work ethic looks like. So how do you teach them that? And that's one of the reasons why I sat down and started pouring out these stories, so that they know what they came from, so that they know the stories that really created that work ethic. And along the way, my hope as a father is that I can show them, hey, you can be anything you want to be. Doesn't matter what, anything at all. If you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to take the rejections to make that happen.
And you're actually doing the work to show them
I'm trying as a dad.
But buddy, that's a game you're going to be playing for a very, very long time. It's like every day I'm trying. I'm like, you would think I would have this down by now, but it doesn't work. What is your favorite story in the book that conveys the belief you have in hard work?
It's the first one.
Okay.
The first chapter is called Chasing Airplanes, because I used to go down to the Philadelphia airport with my dad. He would pick me up. We'd go pick up sandwiches from Wawa or Tony Luke's and drive to the very end of the Philadelphia airport runway and sit on the edge and watch planes take off as we'd eat our sandwiches. And I loved it because I would watch these things, these 500,000-pound metallic beasts just like defy gravity. And sometimes they'd be so close that it looked like you could just reach up and touch it. And for me, it was like, okay, if that massive thing can take off and take flight despite how heavy it is, maybe I can too. And so over the years, I kept going back to different runways. When I was stationed in Texas and I was trying to decide if I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, I drove down, watched the T-38s take off as I sat through this and talked through it with one of my close friends. When I was in Colorado and I was trying to decide if I wanted to stay in the military or not, I went down and watched the C-130s take off because it became a foothold for me, a place that I always went back to. And now I get to do that with my kids. I get to take my girls down to the local airport and watch airplanes take off. And it's the most amazing feeling for me. And so that has been a consistent theme in my life, or consistent place that I've gone to. And it still is my favorite story in here. And that's why I started the book with it.
There's a symbolic point for you, isn't it?
It is.
With the plane taking off.
100%.
What is that?
Like I said, when you look at planes in general, you would never think that they're going to take off, because especially when you look at the jumbo jets, they're 500,000 pounds filled with people. How is that going to take off? But the thing that people don't know, or most people don't realize, is at a certain point in the air, that thing isn't fighting gravity anymore. You can actually cut off all the engines and it's just flying and being there, and the wind is lifting it. So you think about how that lift works with us as people. At some point, you're not fighting to get up anymore. You're not fighting to stand up, to fight, be yourself. You're just being there in the air as you are supposed to be. And that's how planes are made. Planes are made to be able to glide and be with the wind. And so you watch these things take off. And like I said, I would see it and I'd just be like, maybe I can too.
Is your goal to become a pilot, by the way?
It was at one point.
Okay.
That was one of the hardest decisions I had ever had. I went to the Air Force Academy with the goal to become a pilot.
After that story, I already knew that one.
That was the entire reason that I applied and I decided to go. 2 years in, I became a glider instructor pilot, which really put me on the path to become a fighter pilot on the Air Force. When I was there, I loved flying. If you've ever been to Colorado, Like Colorado is beautiful. Colorado is gorgeous from 10,000 feet. Absolutely gorgeous because you're up there with the mountains like this. It's so scenic and I loved it. The thing I didn't love though is when you're in the plane, it's just you in the plane. And I realized that I was a very team-minded person.
Got it.
I couldn't do something that was just about me and like how great I was doing at that moment. And so I had to find something that fit my personality, like being a team person. What could I do that also met these boundaries, like this ambition? And so I went into special warfare. But that decision was one of the hardest I'd ever made because I had wanted to be a pilot up until that point, until the point that I was actually flying. And although I love flying, I wanted to be with a team of guys.
Yeah. What was the benefit of going to special warfare and being a part of that? What's the one thing that you took away that you still hold on to?
You know, I think so. The statement that made me change my mind in this, I was a baseball manager in college, and truthfully, so if you were an intercollegiate athlete, you got a better schedule, like class schedule. You put all your classes before lunch, and so I signed up to be the baseball manager to get a better schedule. And I got there, and we had Coach Kaz, who's still the baseball coach there today. He said something to me that stuck with me. He said, I just want you to take care of the guys. Like, just take care of the guys. And for some reason, like that thought really changed what I wanted to do in the military. Because as a pilot, you might not be in charge of anyone for 12 years because your whole job is to become you in the jet, become really great. I wanted to take care of the enlisted folks. I wanted to take care of people. And I realized I wanted to take care of the guys that were bringing the fight to our enemies. And those were special warfare guys. And so I changed what I was doing. I stopped being a glider instructor pilot. I started getting up at 4 a.m, running before class so that I could pursue this goal of taking care of people. I wanted to take care of like the top 1%. And that's what I went after.
And what about now? Now that things have progressed, you have a family, you've achieved professional success, and that's continuing to expand. You wrote a book, you're doing public speaking. What does the next chapter look like for Justin?
It's the same. My job is to take care of the guys, to take care of people, to impact people, to show people what's possible, to show you that you can do anything. And that's something I learned in college where I switched it, like we were saying, from I want to be the best pilot, like I want to be in this plane by myself, to I want to take care of the guys. That's what I'm pursuing now, but I get to pursue it at scale.
Yeah.
I get to pursue it by speaking in a room full of hundreds of people, pursue it by like influencing people across the internet, by people reading this book. Like I get to do it at scale now. What's that mean for me? Like I have to work harder. I got to put in more effort to make sure that message still gets across.
Yeah. Is your goal to do coaching? Because the public speaking is phenomenal. I think the book really is going to demonstrate to people like how the power that they have within to change their lives. So are you focused on first responders, veterans, or is it people that are just ready for a change and looking for a path?
Just people who are ready for a change, looking for a path. I wanted to not just be in veterans and first responders because I feel that, my message is one that applies to a lot of people. Veterans and first responders obviously is close to my heart, and those are people that I want to help. But there's a lot of good people out there who have the desire to do more, like who have this hunger or this version of yourself hidden away. I want to help that person.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean coaching necessarily, but that person I can't help unless they hear my message. And so I need to continually push that out and show people like this is what's possible in the world. I get to do it through example, but I also get to do it through speaking and reading.
Yeah. And, because I don't know how many young people that you interact with. It's interesting, the work ethic, the never outworked. How do you think work ethic has changed with like younger people than 10 years ago? Like, what are your thoughts about that?
I don't know. I think right now we're in a space that technology, and this hasn't changed over the past 20 years because we've always been there, but technology is is erupting so fast and evolving so quickly that people are trying to consistently find shorter, easier ways to do things.
Okay.
Right?
Let's dig into this.
So let's talk about wholesaling. Like wholesaling is what allowed me to jump out of the 9-to-5 and get my own entrepreneurial path. Wholesaling is something that can't be shortcutted. It takes phone calls. It takes consistent sales. It takes grind work. But a lot of people will come into it and say, okay, how can I make this easier? How can I make this simpler? How can I make it faster? Those things can happen after you've become really good at the grind work. And sometimes I see people who just try to skip ahead to the efficiency part without mastering the grind part. How do you build a great sales team? Become a great salesman and then build a great sales team. And it's no different. And that's where I think the disconnect is sometimes is people have these big aspirations to do things, but aren't willing to take the amount of rejections it takes to become a master at whatever it is you want to do before you try to make it efficient.
Yeah, and how do you work that through for yourself? Like as you go through and you know for a fact you got to be working on the most important task that's going to get you to your goal as quickly as possible. And how do you push yourself? How do you mentally process that? You talked about journaling. Is there other things that you do to help take action when you know you're the one that's preventing yourself?
You've got to know what you're going after.
Yeah.
You have to know why you're doing this. It can't be, I want to make a lot of money. It can't be, something superficial. You need to know why you're putting in this work. And that's what I had to remind myself. I'm pursuing the best version of me. I want to know what I'm capable of. And I want to know it not just in business, but as a man. Like I want to know what I'm capable of in everything I'm pursuing. If that's my goal, then the measuring stick becomes very simple. Because then I get to look at it at the end of the day and say, did I push myself a step closer to this? And it's a yes or no.
Simple. It's not that complicated. April, you got a pretty big event coming up. Taps? That's in April, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Good Lord.
There you go. All right.
I'm like,
The beautiful thing about not being live. Let's take a minute, and we're just gonna have fun at Justin's expense. Thank goodness we're not live, baby. We're not live.
I was like, what's in April?
You're raising 100,000. We might as well give out shout out to that too.
Well, yeah. I guess we're not recording. But Buddy's not racing.
What happened?
He hurt him. He strained some chest muscles.
Oh shit.
So it's just me.
Okay.
He wants to find another one to do the TAPS event.
Oh, okay.
And raise money for it.
Okay.
But I was like, what are you talking about?
Okay. All right. Sweet. I was going to go into it and give some plugs. He's like, what? You're still racing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just me.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So you're holding off on the raising money. All right. We'll get back to it. That's actually pretty funny. Let's talk about your first speaking engagement. So you emceed.
I did. Well, so my first speaking engagement was the one in Vegas, where I got to speak in wholesaling and teach that.
Yeah. That was at that was on in the rooms.
Yeah. So
yeah, this was a much bigger. Yeah. This is where you're the MC.
Yeah, that's where James said that was my coming out.
Yeah, exactly. You're coming out. Where I had to have fun with
that's
them.
Fair.
This is going to be a great short.
That's completely fair.
We're all celebrating coming out.
Being yourself.
Be your
complete self.
How much work went into getting that gig?
A lot.
Okay.
It's
was
tough
it an adventure?
It's tough to really quantify because I didn't want to be scripted.
Yeah.
I find that when people are scripted, they're not really delivering. Like there's a difference between acting and speaking, right? You're acting, you're reading off everything. You're speaking. Really true great speakers are pouring out emotionally, and so that's what I wanted to do, but I needed to know things. I need to learn about every one of the speakers. So prior to the event, I talked to every single person who was going to speak so that I knew how to connect with them. I knew personal information about them. I didn't want to just know their resume. I wanted to know who they were. So I took the time to do that. I took the time to research the venue that we were going to be at, because, just the fact that that room was made after the V8 Piston, and we're talking about what's possible, like that's a story in itself, but it's not a story I would have known if I didn't look into it. So I took a lot of time to learn about where I was going to be. And then my only goal was to just completely empty my cup and like really pour out every time I got onto stage. And so I was very thankful that my wife was there, because every time I got off stage, I went right back to her and I said, I just need a hug. Like, I just need to be with you right now. And our good friend William, he pointed out, he said, I saw you go to your wife every time, like she was your rock. And I said, yeah, because when I'd go up there, I just tried to impact and give all of me. I needed to recharge. I needed that love back.
What is it in that moment that Dre filled for you?
She was really proud of me, because there's not a lot of people in the world who fully get to see us as we are, like just without restraint. And she's always had this really like strong belief in me of what I was capable of, beyond what I felt like I was capable of. And being able to see me step out onto stage, like into the light, and like just be myself completely, I think brought her a lot of joy. And she was really proud to see me in that.
Holy shit. She sees you're 1% better every day.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Was there anything you learned about yourself doing that? Would you do it again?
I would do it again for sure. I think the thing that scares me is doing it without my wife, because like I said, being able to really deliver an impactful speech depends on how vulnerable you're willing to be on stage. Like, are you there because you want to be a speaker and you want that attention? Or are you there because you want to impact that room in front of you? And so I'm not there to hear myself speak. I'm there to impact you. And to do that, I have to be completely vulnerable and pour myself out. And I had the benefit of having my wife there to go back to have a hug and have that rock. But I know there's going to be a time that I have to do it when she's not there. And that scares me a little bit, because I'm going to go up there and I'm going to give everything. Yeah. And then I want to go like hide in the closet or something, like just. So that
makes perfect sense though. Like, if you've never done that I don't know if I could have done what you did. And it's different. Like being, hosting is different. Being in front of the camera is different. Everything is different. And being in front of that many people, like you took a big bite. I'm like, you couldn't start with like 50 people? Like, you got to go right into...
I don't do anything halfway away.
Apparently not. Like, hey, when I do a wholesaling deal, I don't just get one. I'm going to get 11. Awesome. Do you do anything? What did you have fun with the most that you didn't expect to have fun with during that?
I don't know. I didn't have expectations going in.
Okay. So you're not going to give me anything. Was there anything that you had fun doing?
No, I had a blast.
You did?
I had an absolute blast.
You did enjoy it?
Yeah, for sure. Because the same deal. The thing that I loved about it was I had people who came up to me and said, the thing that I talked about really impacted them or hit with them.
Okay.
Because that was my goal. Like, that's the only thing I want out of that. It's not about me. It's about that positive impact.
I love that. And the three people that stood out to me that Buddy pointed out, with the 18-year-old, the 19-year-old, I don't know if you got a chance to talk to them, but they were in the audience.
Oh, the midshipmen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't that cool?
That was very cool.
That blew me away, that like those kids are so way ahead in their, like, if they actually do something with it.
Or just having that exposure in itself is amazing.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously, what advice would you give to like guys that are just recently enlisted? And the reason why I bring this up is I think this is important. Like, to me, the financial side of things, understanding money, is probably one of the most important things you could do when you're young, in your teenage years.
Yeah.
We all need it. And to have the freedom of living the life you want, you absolutely need it. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self right now?
Financially?
Yes, financially.
Man, I was bad. I was that person that maxed out the credit cards.
Perfect.
Went into debt.
Perfect.
You know, I think back to when I enlisted in the military, they had this thing called the STAR card, military STAR card. And I didn't understand credit cards. To me, that meant I had $3,000 to spend to get new boots, like to get whatever I wanted. And I maxed that thing out. And it probably took me a good 2 years to pay it off, right? When it comes to people joining the military, especially young people, we develop bad money habits because you know your check is going to come on the 1st and the 15th. It's not something you ever worry about. You don't ever worry about money not coming because it's going to come on the 1st and the 15th while you're in the military. But the thing that most vets and most people in the military don't realize is how powerful of a tool they have while they're in, especially with the VA loan, to be able to buy a home somewhere, live in it for maybe only a year. You get stationed somewhere else, and now you have this home that someone else is going to live in and accrue wealth on. And if I knew that concept as an 18-year-old, as a 26-year-old, like being able to have a house in every place that I had ever lived that is being rented and accruing wealth, that would have been a complete game changer. And for somebody who spends 5, 10, maybe 20 years in the military, they could have gotten out of the military as a millionaire, understanding these very basic concepts.
How many houses would you have right now?
Oh my God. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad nobody's asked you that. Yes.
At least 6.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That would look nice on the portfolio, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think back to when I lived in Colorado. So I lived in Colorado Springs before it got like super built up, and I bought my first home. It was a townhouse when I was 26 years old with $1 down, a VA loan, brand new built. You know, the appreciation on that thing was wild. If I could go back, I would have bought a different house a year later and a year later. And I spent 5 years in Colorado. So that would have been 5 different houses in a market that is surrounded by 5 military bases and a university that would just continue to grow.
So you're telling me housing is always going to be a necessity in
For
that
sure.
area. Oh, got it.
Sure.
Okay. Just confirming. You know, it's interesting that you said that guarantee of the 1st and the 15th. Just at the event, I talked to a veteran that served for 26 years, and he's about to get out. And I asked him, I said, what's the scariest thing about leaving? And he said the 1st and the 15th.
Because you're so used to foreshore money. Like, you never have to think about it. You know it's going to come in. If you've got USA, it's going to come in the Friday before that. Like, it's great. But it also creates bad spending habits.
Right.
Because there's no reason to save if you know that it's going to happen. And that's where I was for so long.
So definitely understand where your money's going.
Right.
Buy as soon as you can, and after a year, buy another one.
Yeah.
So, which means get a side hustle. I highly encourage side hustles, especially. Would you buy in California?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's tough as an investment right now.
Right.
Because I think, you know, and I'm no forecaster, but I think you're not going to see the same amount of appreciation in California as you would in different states. Just because the incomes have not caught up to the home prices here, especially in Southern California. But there are still ways to buy here. Like, there's still ways to be a profitable real estate investor. People are doing it. But
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of knowledge. It takes a lot of action and understanding the market that you're in and what makes the most sense for that.
What do you think has been the biggest impact in you achieving the financial freedom to live the life that you want? What is the biggest, like the one thing that stands out in your mind, like I did this and this is what changed my life?
So I think understanding how to manufacture money.
Okay.
You know,
Elaborate.
as a business owner, you have to understand how to create money, right? Because no one is paying you on the 1st and 15th. I'm not getting money from anybody else. Like, no one's writing my paycheck. I have to know how to create money, how to manufacture money. That skill in itself is something that really set my mind free in what's possible, because now I know how to manufacture money. I know how to create money in our life. If I really need to, I'm going to hit the phones. I'm going to start wholesaling. Like, I'm going to find great deals that I know are out there because I know how to do it. But without that knowledge, people are like, where does the money come from? as an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to manufacture money.
Yeah. And number one advice that you've gotten on how to be a successful entrepreneur that you've applied to your life?
Number one advice that I've gotten
on how to be a successful entrepreneur. You have a lot of impactful people in your life.
I do. The one that I keep going back to and that I called on the way here is Kelly Cardenas, also former guest on your
The Vibe
podcast. Yeah.
Does Kelly ooze vibe? I mean, that man is a walking vibe.
He oozes knowledge. Like
if
you're around him for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, like you're going to learn something if you stop and listen. And there's a couple of things that I've taken from him that, in business and in life, like he reads the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day every single day. I do that. Or I tried to. I'm not as consistent as I should be. And it's something that was on my board that I need to do more of. So I do that. When it comes to business advice, the thing that I think about right now is there's only one business, and it's the people business.
Yeah.
And that's it. It doesn't matter what your product is, what you're doing. The only business that really matters is the people business, the relationships that you're going to build. And, being yourself, not being transactional, and just building up people, like giving good vibe, like good, I don't know what the word I'm looking for right now is, like energy to people. It's all that matters.
How come that's the right path? I 1000% agree with you. How come these people of influence in your life, how come that's the lesson you're taking away?
It's because of the impact it's allowed me to have on others. Like I tell you, I don't know where this is going to go, but I do know the more that I speak, the more that I get on stage, the more shows I'm on, the more I share, the more people keep reaching out to me and telling me that I help them. And that's all that matters to me. That's all that matters. The rest will come. The rest, like monetary success, like the business, whatever it is, will show. But I know what I'm doing is right because I continue to positively impact people. And that's it.
That's so interesting. I was just sitting here thinking about, our conversation today. And I've been following your brand and just seeing the direction. And you're in an exploring stage. You're like, all these people have impacted my life. They've helped me. Now I'm just going to go out there and help a whole bunch of people and see where this road leads me. How's that for a summary?
I think that fits perfectly. I mean, there's another quote.
At least I'm listening.
Yeah, there's another quote. If you want to make $1 billion, help 1 billion people. Like that's a thought. But my thought process isn't like, how do I create this business? How do I monetize off of this? It's how do I make the biggest impact?
And what's a booming, from an opportunity perspective, because you are an investor.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, what are cities that you're excited about when it comes to opportunity? What do you think is in store for real estate? What areas do you see huge opportunity growths?
For me, when I look at properties, when I look at long-term rentals, I look in Alabama.
Okay.
So I look at Birmingham and Huntsville, Mobile. Those are areas that are really growing, especially in Birmingham and Huntsville. A lot of companies are moving there.
Okay.
And so that's where I look to invest. And then outside of that, I look for places that my wife and I want to go to.
Okay.
So if I'm like going to set up a short-term rental, maybe I'll look in Lake Arrowhead. It's not the best investment because it's not going to pay out great, but it is going to appreciate over time, and it's going to be somewhere that I get to share memories with my family with. So those are the two things that I look at when I look at real estate investing. Okay.
And are you a short-term, mid-term, or long-term investor? What are your...
I like long-term rentals.
You do?
Yeah, just because it's less... It's more passive. There's less for you to do as the owner. I own a short-term rental property management company. It's a lot of work, like managing those types of properties. And even for the owners, it requires them to be a lot more hands-on, understand what's going on, the cycles of the season. Where my long-term rentals, I barely look at, honestly. Like the rent gets paid. We have somebody in there.
You mean true passive income?
Yeah, right. It's working.
What do you enjoy real estate? Like, are you enjoying the real estate industry?
I enjoy the opportunity that comes with real estate.
Okay.
People don't understand, just like we were talking about with the vets, what real estate can bring into someone's life. What it's brought into my life is this freedom to be able to start these businesses, to meet amazing people who understand, like, you don't have to be passionate about real estate, but you do understand that real estate can bring the American dream. And whatever that is in your life, it can bring it. And it's an avenue that's there for anybody. And that's what I really love about it.
Yeah. And I think the harder you're willing to work, this is the biggest thing I've learned from you when it comes to wholesaling. The harder you're willing to work and just get those reps in, that's how you open up doors quicker.
Exactly. It's with anything. It's with any industry, but real estate's one that stands that anybody can get into. There's no barrier to entry. The only barrier is how many rejections you're willing to take. How much work are you willing to put in to achieve this goal that you said you wanted? And that's where people run into the stop point. People don't understand that it might take hundreds of no's for you to get to what you want. But it's just, how much do you want that?
And let's talk about travel now. So where is it that you and Dre and the family have as your, like, this is the grand of the grand vacation? Where are you taking the family to next?
So Dre has always wanted to go to Greece.
Okay. And you're going to the Greek Isles.
Yeah. So that's her number one.
All right.
I've been extremely fortunate. I've been able to travel a lot, especially in the military. My favorite place I've ever been is Italy, and I want to go back. I don't have a desire to go
do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Greece is right there. Yeah. I mean, you get both of it. What was your favorite city in Italy? That's on the list.
Rome. And I'll tell you why. When I was in Rome, I was training for tryouts for special warfare. So every morning I would wake up and go for a run. And I would wake up and I'd run at sunrise and I'd run to the Colosseum. And the streets were empty. And the fact that the Colosseum was like my end site was just the coolest thing to me, because it was so like scenic and picturesque. And the fact that you're just running through this super historic area and nobody was there. Nobody's awake. It was amazing.
You were running your own gladiator.
I was.
Okay, we should have started with that. That is a cool story. I was living gladiator every day. Russell Crowe would have been jealous.
I tried to follow his path.
Okay, so. That's actually that's freaking. Could you think of a better run?
No.
I mean, that feeling had to be incredible. And the streets were empty. I would think that Italians are pretty healthy. Are they not runners?
I don't know how Italians stay so fit, because despite the fact that I ran at least 5 miles every morning.
Yeah.
I gained 5 pounds for the 10 days we were there, because the food and wine was so amazing.
I was about to say, I'm not going to Italy and not eating up a storm.
God. I had pasta and wine every day, and it was amazing. And gelato.
I literally want to go to Greece and Italy for a month. Like, there's so much rich history, and I don't know about you, but I love history. Like, that would be the Mecca of history.
Exactly.
What better scene could you imagine? So I love that. That's on the itinerary. Who makes your life better? Who do you want to thank? Like, who makes Justin every day?
That's easy. That's my wife and my girls. My wife is my rock, and the girls just bring so much joy into our lives. And I'm thankful for them every day. Like, I'm thankful that woman chose me to spend her life with, and that together we got to make these 2 beautiful children who just, sure, sometimes I like want them to stop crying, but they bring so much light into our lives. I'm thankful.
In 10 years, you'll be begging. You'll be begging. You're like, oh, I wish they were crying. It's those moments, man, like when they're small and they're adorable and they won't talk back to you.
No, my kid's starting to talk back. I had to put her in timeout this morning. It's like, you said what?
I'm sorry. What did you say? This isn't going to be the last time, man. We're going to make this a regular thing. I'm so excited for you. And you know what I want to thank you for is, and you see this within several entrepreneurs that genuinely are about people. You know, they're in the business of people. And you said that earlier. And I asked you a question and I said, hey, Justin, how come you're allocating so much of your time? There was no financial gain for you whatsoever. And I'm like, hey, man, you're giving a lot of your time, you're giving a lot of your energy. And that to me are the two most valuable things you can get from anyone. And you're like, you just asked for help and I'm here. We're boys. And I was just so grateful. I just wanted to say thank you for, you know, not only achieving success, but also wanting to lift others so they can live their best lives. Like that to me is what it's all about. Like we all have an opportunity. Not only did you serve your country, wrote your book, now it's like, hey, I'm going to pay it forward and really show what a man looks like to my family.
Well, it's selfish really. I do those things, helps you. It makes me feel good. And so that's my end result there. I get to be happy and be like, yep, this worked out well.
Life goals, baby. Happiness. Go for it. Make a difference in someone else's life.